Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Brittany Ramsey and I am the Region H Chair. Our region encompasses all of Indiana, Ohio, and Northern Kentucky. And today we are having our annual business meeting. This is being conducted during the week of the 2021 Virtual National Convention. And we have all of our delegates from the region here with us, along with our section chairs and any guests who have decided to come from our region. We are going to be recording today's session so that we can send it out to the region for anybody who wasn't able to attend live, so that they can see all of the updates and the announcements and highlights that are going on, as well as the business that's being conducted here today. So without further ado, we need to take attendance just to see all of the delegates that we have on file who is in attendance for the live session of business that we'll be covering at the end of today's meeting. So I will go ahead through each of our sections in order and call on the chapter names. If you are here, can you unmute yourself? You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to, but just say here or I when I call your chapter name. Okay, starting with H1, which is Northern Indiana, starting with the Alpha Gamma chapter at Purdue.
Here.
Here.
Okay, starting or going on to the Alpha Tau chapter at Butler.
Here.
Okay, moving on to Delta Xi at Ball State.
Here.
Here.
Okay, and then Tau Omicron at IUPUI. Okay, moving on to H2, starting with our Mu chapter at Indiana University.
Here.
Here.
Okay. Beta Lambda at ISU.
Here.
We didn't have anybody registered from Alpha Epsilon or Delta Omicron, but I'll call out just in case. Okay, and then Tau Lambda at Rose-Hulman. Okay, moving on to H3, starting with Zeta Kappa at Bowling Green.
Here.
Okay, moving on to Zeta Lambda at Toledo.
Here.
Here.
2, okay. Going on to Alpha Gamma Omicron at Heidelberg. Okay, Alpha Epsilon Beta at Ohio Northern.
Here.
And Alpha Zeta Rho at Defiance. Okay, moving down to H4, starting with Zeta Delta at Miami.
Here.
Zeta Rho at Wittenberg.
Here. Here.
Okay, Delta Alpha at Cincinnati.
Here.
Here.
Alpha Gamma Xi at Dayton.
Here. Don't quite think my partners.
Okay, just one. Alpha Gamma Phi at NKU.
Here.
And you are a single delegate, so you're casting 2 votes, Christina, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And then do we have anybody from the Wright State petitioning group? Okay, moving on to H5. Theta Upsilon at Case Western Reserve.
Here. Here.
Okay, Xi Upsilon at Mount Union.
Here.
Epsilon Psi at Kent State.
Both of us are here.
Perfect. And then Alpha Epsilon Theta at Akron. Okay. Okay, we have quorum, so we are okay to continue conducting business. Thank you all for your help going through attendance. And if anybody has to leave early, just let me know in the chat, shoot me a direct message just so I can keep track of our quorum throughout today's meeting. Without further ado, every time we have a region business meeting or a conference, I like to give a state of the region address or update just to keep everybody apprised of what's going on in the region or what's up and coming and planned for future semesters. So here's a little bit of a recap of our region and its programming this year, starting with our membership program. Our chapter membership numbers are down about 20% compared to last year. And obviously in 2020, we saw nationally a huge decline in chapter membership across the board. It was down about 40%. So we have seen improvement this year with things returning a little bit more to in-person operations, and then also just having more consistent recruiting happening compared to what happened last year with all of the changes and a lot of campuses and universities having abrupt shifts to their virtual operations. So things are looking up better. There seems to be improvement as far as the number of pledges that we're bringing in and the retention of our active membership, but we still are down about 20%. So I'm hoping that next year that we can see a little bit more revival in some of our chapter membership programs, especially just with retaining active members. We are working on a lot of different materials nationally. The National Membership Committee has put together a lot of new resources after the last couple of years that a lot of you have probably seen, and they've done a phenomenal job turning the pledge education program or new member education program to a virtual platform. So if you haven't seen that already, that is available on demand. So any of your new members that you recruit can go through that on their own time or as an individualized program through the Introduction to Alpha Phi Omega program. So that is something neat that's been out there, along with a bunch of other online resources for how to recruit virtually or how to have ongoing recruitment so that you can bring in multiple pledge classes throughout a semester and how to handle and manage that through your membership program. If you haven't seen any of these or you are a new membership officer in your chapter, they're all linked on our region website along with the national website. So you can find all of those conveniently located under our membership resources. Next, we have hit the ground running this year with extension after taking a little bit of a break in 2020 because of the campuses closing down. We had a student contact us at the University of Evansville this spring, and she hit the ground running and recruited almost 10 members in just a couple of semesters. So we were able to have their first official petitioning ceremony, I believe in September of this fall, and they are up to 10 members now and operating fully with chapter meetings and leadership, friendship, and service events on their campus. And they're super excited to meet the rest of their section in H2, and obviously the rest of our region as well, as soon as they can with future virtual events or conferences, hopefully. But we're super excited to have them. Right State's petitioning group has been around for several years, and they are working this month actually on completing their chartering application. So we are hoping to turn that into the national office within the next couple of weeks and apply for charter, and then aiming hopefully before the end of the spring semester to have an in-person chartering ceremony for Right State to welcome them as a full chapter. So that is just some exciting news. We have interest groups at the University of Indianapolis, which is in H1, as well as Ohio Wesleyan in H6. And we're waiting to gain student interest and involvement before we can move forward with the petitioning group. If you know any students that are in those areas, let us know, because we can connect you with the advisors that we do have and the local section chairs to help you get your friends involved in APO if they would like to be involved. We will have some new extension efforts coming up in the spring semester, just based on recent interest that has been filed. We just heard, or we just made contact with a student over at, I believe it's the Indiana University, Purdue University at Fort Wayne. And that's also over in H1, but it's kind of on the border of H1 and H3. It's, I think, within an hour of Defiance's campus. So that is another exciting extension opportunity, and I will keep everybody posted if we're able to move forward with the petitioning group once we connect with all of those students that might be interested. We have some new marketing initiatives that came out this year. We designed a Rush banner program based on the budget that we approved last December. We created the design and worked with all of the chapters that signed up to customize their design and place the order finally this fall. It took a long while to get a hold of every single chapter and make sure all of the confirmations were correct before we placed the order. So everybody should have those before their recruitment program starts in January. And I will keep all the chapter presidents updated on when those arrive. Other than that, we have a bunch of different branded templates out there on the region website. If you are looking for help with your chapter marketing programs or anything for recruitment, you can look those up on the region website and use the template and customize it, add context, any kind of updates or customizations that you need to. You can use a free website like Canva and add text and images to make it your own. But those templates are out there to help you create a uniform marketing initiative if you want to for your chapter. We will have some region event updates coming up here in the next few slides when we talk about what's going on next semester and just next year in general with conferences. But we will continue to host virtual region events. We try to do one every couple of months, whether it's leadership, friendship, or service. And then we also try to help advertise anything that chapters are hosting, which you guys did a great job of this year, hosting things that we could broadcast out to the whole region. So if your chapter has an event that's already planned and ready to go and you would love to open it up because it has a virtual or hybrid component to it, please reach out to us and let us know, because we can advertise that on the region social media platforms to reach all of the chapters throughout Indiana, Ohio, and Northern Kentucky so that they can attend. And I think a couple of the chapters up in H3 did an awesome event earlier this year where they hosted an event with chapters from even outside of our region as well. So that is definitely a possibility, and the sooner that we can advertise those types of things on social media, the easier we can spread that information beyond our region as well. For our advisor development program, we have solidified 3 different levels of training. Those are all up on the region website, and we introduced those in the fall of 2020. There is a blue level, a gold level, and a diamond level of advisor development training. If you have chapter advisors that you would like to kind of send them to training or ask them to do some courses on certain things that you feel your chapter needs support with, those are available. A lot of them are already recorded and available on the Region H YouTube channel. We also host them live a few times a semester. So if they're interested in doing anything like that, or you need additional assistance as chapter officers with your advisors, please contact our Region H Advisor Development Liaison, and she can help coordinate those meetings with the advisors. She sends out emails at the beginning of every semester, whether it's regarding an overview of risk management or just the introduction to advising training. And all of that contact info is pulled directly from Officer Portal. And this fall, we had a lot of chapters missing advisors or advisor contacts, like their email addresses that weren't up to date, or they were no longer working at the university. And I know that so many changes have happened just in the last year with higher education because of the pandemic. So if you all are missing communications for your advisors, or your advisors aren't hearing anything, please make sure that Officer Portal is updated and you have all of your advisors listed in there so that they can get the announcements from not only us at the region level, but also the national office that sends out things to advisors. BJ will continue to reach out to advisors in the spring semester and hopefully host some Zoom roundtables for everybody to continue networking and getting to know each other and kind of lean on each other during these hybrid operations, and continue just building our advisor network. Next, for our Alumni Relations program, we hosted finally an in-person event this year. We got together with the Bluegrass Alumni Association in Kentucky, and we hosted an in-person get-together in August at Newport, Kentucky, which was really fun. And we finally got to see brothers in person, which was great, and we hope to do that in the future as well. We put things on pause for the last month or so because of what's happening with the new variant, but we hope to be able to host in-person events safely next semester, and we'll just continue to monitor the situation of what's going on, and hopefully can bring alumni together again. For the spring semester, we had a really great region volunteer conference this summer in Columbus, Ohio, and we had a full 2 days of LFS programming, a lot of new topics, especially relating to helping chapters throughout the pandemic and everything that's happened with hybrid operations. And so for the first time, I felt like we had a whole new breadth of workshops to create because we were going through something so new in the fraternity. And it was awesome to see brothers in person and also joining us live over Zoom to connect with us during those programs. And we recorded a lot of them and put them up on the Region H YouTube channel. We had a lot of discussions during that RVC weekend as well to kind of think about the future and what we would like to see from RVC and just our alumni relations programs in general. And so we're excited to create some of those initiatives next spring, hopefully, and we can start with some in-person events or virtual if necessary, and then working towards planning our next up and coming RVC that will be next summer as well to continue building on the program that we started this year. Our financial update has been pretty simple this year because there hasn't been any expenses since everything was canceled in person. For the most part, the only expense that we had in the year 2021 was the RVC in July. And then we are purchasing the Rush banners and getting those ordered this semester for all of the chapters according to the budget that was approved last year. So everything else has just been upkeep and management, like our online programs, like the website and our QuickBooks Online program, but everything else has just run pretty smoothly because we haven't had a lot of expenses to be concerned with. And we actually have quite a bit of an overage in our budget, which is why we came up with a grant proposal to move some funds and reallocate them to something that we can start utilizing because a majority of our budget was planned for the National Convention in Phoenix this December that got canceled. So stay tuned, we'll be talking about that grant proposal, but I just wanted to give a quick recap of our finances, that we're in a really healthy place and have quite a big savings in our region account because of the lack of events that we've been able to host or conferences. And then last but not least, we don't have a lot of updates from our awards program, but we are giving out our region awards that we do give out annually. We will be doing them later today at the end of this meeting. And then hopefully we can give out all of those certificates from the last couple of conferences that we've had to host virtually at the next in-person conference. So we've been kind of holding on to those and we'll give them out to chapters when we see all of you in person, hopefully next spring. And then the last bit that I wanted to announce to everybody for the State of the Region address is that we are going to be creating a new region-wide DEI program because we have a new national program for DEI. We have a new program chair who's heading that up. They are working on creating a bunch of new resources and highlighting some goals and initiatives for that program, so that I think having somebody at the region level to help disseminate that information and help train programs, help train our chapters on that program. If they want to start something similar on the chapter level, we'll need somebody on the region level to kind of head that up. So that is one of the positions that I'm actively recruiting for the next term. So if you are interested in that, you know, a recent grad who might be interested in it, or an alumni living in our region, we would love to have somebody head up our DEI program and help kind of create and disseminate those resources down to our chapters. A lot of you I've heard have already started that. We have chapter DEI chairs or VPs starting this year. And so I'm happy to be able to get an alumni into that position to help guide you if you need any help or resources throughout your journey of installing that into your chapter. Looking forward to the next year, some region goals that we have for the next term is going to start and be mainly focused on our chapter membership. We have a lot of chapters that need revived, and I know that a lot of you are probably experiencing that this fall with their membership numbers and just getting back to a healthy point for each campus of whatever that number might be for you all, and then also just retaining our members. Besides looking at recruitment numbers and retention, the other thing to think about is just revitalizing the chapter membership program as a whole and making sure that anything that was existing pre-pandemic is going to carry on to the future, like chapter traditions or the history of the chapter, or programs that the chapter used to do before when it was in person, to make sure that those get revitalized when things become safe to do in person again and continue on those traditions. So if a chapter doesn't have strong advisors, be able to provide that historical insight, we want to make sure that we're working with them, connect maybe with their alumni or to connect with other chapters nearby and make sure that a lot of those things that are so important that might not be written down anywhere, get continued on. I know a lot of you probably went a solid year and a half without doing a toast song in person. And I remember hearing from students earlier this year how weird it was to get back in person and be able to do your song together and not have to do it on Zoom with everybody singing at a different point. So those are just little things to make sure that we're all thinking about when we get people back together in person, that we kind of teach the chapter membership about it again and reintroduce them to APO in person, and all of the special features about our fraternity that we can pass down to everybody, especially things like conferences that most students who have been recruited in the last year and a half have probably never been to. And the number of brothers in your chapter that have ever attended a conference is probably getting really, really small. A lot of them have probably graduated by now, especially for a brother who's attended the nationals in person. So a lot of that knowledge is now out the door, and we want to make sure that we're supporting our chapters with reintroducing that information and sharing what conferences used to be like, and keep that alive and make sure that we can continue that history with our chapters in Region H. So that'll be a primary focus for the next couple of years, just helping support chapters with their membership programs and make sure that they're thinking about all the different facets to include with their chapter operations for membership. Next, one of our big goals is going to be continuing on that same line as providing pandemic relief for our chapter operations. We have come up with a new grant to propose for all of you today, and I think that's going to be a huge help just for chapters to take an extra step or make a new initiative in their chapter operations to help revitalize some things that might have been lost in the last couple of years, or to support a brand new event that they have thought of that will hopefully revitalize things in the chapter for them. Extension, like I said, is going to be a big goal for the next couple of years. We have one chapter nearing the chartering process, and we have one brand new petitioning group. I would love to see at least 3 petitioning groups active by the end of the spring semester next year. So that is a big goal of mine. I really want to get our region up to 30 chapters, but in order to do so, we have to make sure that we have healthy sections and healthy nearby chapters to make that happen. So we're only going to grow in areas where it's healthy to do so, and the chapters nearby are readily available and interested and willing in supporting a new chapter nearby. And so we're going to grow where we can grow and follow student interest. So that's a huge goal of mine. I love extension and I'm super passionate about it. So I'm hoping that we can introduce APO to some new campuses next year when it's safe and plausible to do so. Going along with chapter membership support and chapter operations support, a huge piece of that is going to be advisor development and training and supporting that group of individuals so that we can better support our chapters. Because of everything that's changed and affected higher ed for the last year and a half plus, we have had a lot of faculty advisors either leave the university for whatever reason or step down from their position in APO as an advisor. And so I know a lot of chapters are hurting in that department and needing help recruiting faculty advisors, faculty staff advisors. So once we're able to do that and help all of our chapters complete their advisor roster again, we're going to need to have that development and training available for them. So we'll probably be super heavy in the online event schedule for advisor development in the spring, just to make sure that everybody coming on board goes through that training and learns how to work with students and support them through their programs, and also learn about our risk management program and things like that. So that will kind of be twofold with getting our chapters back on track and making sure that they have full advisor rosters. We also have to make sure at the same time we're training all of those new volunteers. With that being said, since I'm speaking to a lot of voting delegates and people who are still active members, if you are graduating and might be interested in working with a campus after you graduate, even if you move outside of our region, or even if it's years down the line, please don't ever hesitate to reach out so that we can kind of get you on that track of training if you're interested in advising a chapter after you graduate. And then last but not least, we are hopeful as of right now to be able to host a spring sectionals conference and a regionals conference next fall. And so a huge goal and committee is going to have to come underway to be able to support those conferences now that we can hopefully host them in person next year. So stay tuned for more info about that. We're going to have a discussion about where future conferences are going to be later in this meeting. But I wanted to put that on our goals list just because that is hopefully going to be a big program that we can bring back for our region next year. I wanted to look up some membership stats just when I was compiling all of my research for the State of the Region update. So I looked on Officer Portal and pulled a bunch of membership reports, and these are a few things that I wanted to highlight for everybody this year. So for the fall 2021 semester, our largest chapter in the region is Alpha Iota at The Ohio State University, and they're the largest right now at about 210 members, followed by Zeta Delta, which is in H4, that's Miami University, and they are sitting around 111 members. In third place, we have the Alpha Gamma chapter at Purdue, and they have about 81 members currently. Next, we have Alpha Gamma Xi, which is in Dayton, and they are at 73 members. And then rounding out our top 5 chapters, according to membership size, is our Mu chapter at IU in H2, and they have about 61 members. This is still about the same top 5 that we had about 2 years ago during the first year of my term as region chair. They haven't fluctuated that differently. It's the same 5 chapter names, but the number of students have greatly changed. And if you've been in these chapters for at least the last 2 to 3 years, I'm sure you've seen the fluctuations according to or affected by the pandemic. OSU is usually a little bit larger. Miami is usually really close to OSU in membership size, and so is Purdue. And then Dayton and IU are definitely lower than they usually are. But that being said, based on the fall pledge classes that we did have, I'm pretty hopeful for these chapters being able to successfully and healthily grow over the next few semesters going forward. Our largest section in this semester was section H4, which is the Southwest Ohio corner in Northern Kentucky, closely followed by section H6, which is the Southeast Ohio, the Columbus, Ohio area. Those are our largest 2 sections right now, according to membership size. In our region, the average H chapter size is about 38 members, which is lower than it used to be. It used to be in the 50s, but right now we're sitting at about 38. So if you look at what your chapter size is right now, if you're sitting at about 25 to 30, you're about on average of what we're seeing across the region. If you're higher than that, you're in a very healthy standpoint as far as the rest of the region goes when you're looking at what our numbers are currently. We have 27 active chapters. We have 2 active petitioning groups, and we have 1 active interest group. So we're at about 30 campuses right now. In our whole region, we have just over 1,000 active members. We have 4 petitioning groups in total, like I said. And out of all of the groups that we have, out of all 30 campuses, we have 3 at-risk chapters. And if you would have asked me like 5-10 years ago what an at-risk chapter is, it probably would have had a completely different definition. I think nationally we used to consider anything under 25 members at risk. And I think nowadays, with everything in the last 2 years being down so far in terms of membership size, reevaluating that and just looking at what chapters at risk really means to us in the pandemic. And I am looking at things like membership size, like if they're below 10 to 15 members, but also do they have a really active and engaged officer group? Are there students that are leading the efforts to revitalize or to recruit new members? Do they have active or involved advisors that are helping? And then 3, what's going on at the university? Is the university able to support them? Are things really shaky on campus as far as support goes? So after doing all of that kind of research into what was going on with our smallest chapters over the last couple of years, we still have about 3. I want to give a huge shout out to a lot of our section chairs and chapter advisors who have worked with that number over the last couple of years since the pandemic started to make sure that it stayed at a very small number. We had 2 chapters in 2020 go down to a single member, and both of those chapters are now over 10, which is a huge accomplishment and feat for those students and advisors that helped with those campuses and ensured that we weren't going to lose any chapters due to the pandemic. So I'm still really worried that we do have those 3 campuses, and we're working really closely with the students and advisors that we do have. We're going to continue to do so to make sure that we can get them to that healthy point so that hopefully in another year, we're looking at a lot more growth in our membership stats. Our average chapter size goes up and our number of at-risk chapters is back to 0. So this is an overview of what's going on in the region. I thought this was super interesting just to break it down, and then hopefully we can look at it from a year from now and see some successes when we're at our fall regionals conference. Okay, a little bit more about our region. So if you didn't know, our motto in H is that our region H is our home. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about each of our chapters in the sections and just some highlights. So I asked our section chairs to turn in any chapter highlights that they knew about. And I kind of perused social media a bunch over the last few months to see what everybody was up to. And these were some special things that I want to highlight. If I do have any of the section chairs on the call, when I go through your section, if you want to highlight anything additional, please feel free to raise your hand, and then you can turn your video and mic on if you want to highlight anything additional. That would be awesome. As well as students, if you are a delegate from one of these sections that I call on and you want to highlight something cool that your chapter did, this is kind of an open floor for everybody to share and get to know each other a little bit. I love talking about chapter highlights, and I would love to see a lot more on here next year. So if anybody has anything additional that they want to highlight or shout out or kind of send kudos to another chapter, please feel free to do so. Just raise your hand in the chat and I will call on you. Okay, in H1, there was something really neat that happened this spring that I wanted to call out just because I personally saw how well it was orchestrated and organized ahead of time. Our Alpha Gamma chapter at Purdue hosted this thing called Extravaganza, and they planned a whole calendar full of virtual events, and they invited the whole region to attend. They had members from their chapter as well as alumni guests help present different LFS things that everybody could do together virtually. And they also hosted a virtual Spark with Brother Tommy Brennan. And I just thought this was an awesome job of not only coordinating virtual LFS programs, but also the interchapter relations aspect of broadcasting it to the whole region and thinking to invite other brothers and welcome them to a chapter event of their own. So I wanted to take a moment and really highlight Alpha Gamma for their efforts in this event this year. Does anybody have any other highlights from H1 that they would like to share? Okay, moving on to H2, which is Southern Indiana. One of the big exciting notes that we had from this fall was the introduction of a brand new petitioning group at Evansville. Our student Alex, who came to us last semester wanting to join APO because she had heard about it from a friend, hit the ground running, recruited a bunch of students, found her first 2 faculty advisors very quickly, and we were able to petition them just a few months later after that first initial call. And so they are growing pretty rapidly and moving through all the requirements for LFS events and hosting chapter meetings and things like that. So they are growing very nicely into a regular chapter type function. So we're super excited about that extension effort. Would anybody else from H2 chapters like to speak on some highlights or accomplishments that you've had this year?
I can go. We MU chapter at IU, we actually hosted with our section chair, we hosted a section officer retreat, which was really fun. I believe well, Brandon was there, obviously, our other delegate, and then I believe Abby from ISU was there as well. It was really fun getting to talk to them and kind of talk about what kind of the struggles, but also the good things that have come from the last couple of years.
That's awesome. And I'm glad to hear that you guys were able to host a officer retreat, and hopefully next fall, all of our sections can do that. That's something that we used to do in person every fall, and only a few were able to do so this year, just due to all the restrictions with COVID, but that's awesome to hear. Okay, moving on to H3, which is our Northwest Ohio section, starting with our Alpha Gamma Omicron chapter at Heidelberg. They're one of those 2 schools that I mentioned last year went down to a single active member, and they have reached over 10 members this as of this fall. That student has done such a tremendous job of recruiting on campus to be able to revitalize their membership back to a healthy number to start with, and introducing all of those new members to LFS on campus and becoming a solid organization at Heidelberg again. That student's name is Kaylin, and she is their chapter president currently. And I remember working with her and the section chair and a couple of advisors last year when it got super low in membership, and she has just done an amazing job kind of seeing that challenge and overcoming it, and re-solidifying APO on that campus for I'm sure many years to come. They did a really awesome event just a couple weeks ago with the university president. They did a pie in the face fundraiser for their chapter, and I thought that was really tremendous to see just the difference between what 1 year makes on that campus and how large their group has gotten now. So huge kudos to Heidelberg, and we're super proud of them for overcoming that low membership number last year. We also wanted to highlight Zeta Lambda at Toledo for hosting a really cool and unique 24-hour service marathon with a bunch of different service projects each hour that members could participate in. And they've also done a really great job at inviting other nearby chapters, even beyond our region, to events that they've hosted virtually for the past year. And then also wanted to give a highlight to these 5 chapters for all being in good standing this year. That's a huge thing, especially this fall. There's a lot of things to overcome as far as chapter administrative items went, with missing advisors or invoices or things like that on OP, just getting back into the swing of things with the start of a new year. And we're super proud of our sections that we're able to get all of their chapters in good standing by the end of it. Does anybody else from H3 have anything they would like to share?
I can share, but I'll give a second just in case my students want to add anything on there as well.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out really to all of our chapters. I mean, their execs have really been taking a great initiative, I think, since the pandemic. We actually were able to see a little bit of growth actually in our section during COVID. So that was really awesome for them to still be able to really innovate and grow our membership, even with throughout the pandemic too. So that was really awesome. And they've just been amazing with reaching out and wanting to get more involved with each other and throughout the region. So definitely a little bit sad because we did just have elections for most of our chapters, but really excited to see how great a lot of our chapter execs have really become great leaders, not only in APO, but also going forward. So definitely big kudos to them.
Wonderful. Okay, we'll move on to our next section, which is H4, which is Southwest Ohio and Northern Kentucky. A few highlights in H4. The AGX chapter at Dayton hosted an anniversary alumni dinner, which went really well. They invited active members and alumni members from the chapter to a dinner, and they had some fellowship activities. I was able to go. I'm an alum from AGX, so that was super exciting. It was awesome to get to reconnect with some local alumni from that chapter, and then also meet all the chapter officers and actives from Dayton that came. So huge kudos for being able to host that this year. And it was an awesome idea for celebrating the chapter anniversary. Like I said earlier, our Wright State University petitioning group is working on their chartering application. So they're working with their advisor and Stephanie, their section chair, to get all of their paperwork ready to turn in to apply for charter. We're super excited for that. We started that group back in 2014. So this has been a long time coming for Wright State, and we're super excited to hopefully welcome them soon as a full chapter in the region. And we also wanted to highlight the fact that H4 is also 100% in good standing. They are the largest section with 6 campuses, so that's a huge feat. And I wanted to give a huge kudos to their chapters and their section chair for working through all of their paperwork this fall. Does anybody else from H4 have a highlight they would like to share? Okay, moving on to H5, which is our Northeast Ohio section. The section up in H5 has 4 chapters, and they are also in good standing. So that was another thing that I wanted to highlight throughout our region. That's a huge accomplishment, and they are the 3rd section to do so. So awesome job to all of our Northeast Ohio chapters. Thank you for your hard work, working with your section chair and advisors to get all of your paperwork in to be in good standing. Do any of the 4 chapters up in Northeast Ohio have any highlights that they would like to share as well?
I can share.
Go ahead.
So basically, we probably had like one of the biggest pledge classes we've had in like 2 or 3 years coming back from COVID. So that was pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. Does anybody else have a highlight they would like to share? Okay, moving on to our last section, H6, which is Southeast Ohio, the Columbus area. One of the highlights we wanted to share was with two of the chapters, Alpha Eta Rho at OU Lancaster and Alpha Iota at The Ohio State University, have both done a great job working together and increasing their interchapter relations this fall. They've hosted a couple events and also traveled to each other's chapter meetings, which is a really awesome thing to do now that things are back in person. You can see what other chapters do during their meetings and get ideas to take back to your own chapter, and also just introduce brothers and form those connections that really showcase why APO is different than other service organizations, because we have that fellowship and that brotherhood aspect. So a huge kudos to both of those campuses. Does anybody else from H6 have a highlight they would like to share?
Yeah, I have a quick one. I'm from the Alpha Eta Rho chapter, so going to Alpha Iota's chapter meetings, one of the highlights was how we differ our toast songs. Every chapter kind of does their own unique theme, and I was very happy when me and a few of my brothers from the Lancaster chapter went to Alpha Iota's chapter, and during their toast song, we did our parts differently, and it was quite interesting to see how everyone reacted during those times. So that's the highlight I have.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorite parts of being at the national convention when it's in person, because you have like 2,000 brothers in a room and everybody sings it completely different when it gets to the end. Everybody has their own kind of jingle that they do or movement. So that's always really fun to see. Anybody else from H6? Okay, thank you all for the highlights. And last but not least in this region update, I wanted to give a shout out to all of the volunteers who have served on region staff for the past 2 years, starting with our region information officer, Katie Paul. She has helped lead all of our region staff meetings for the last couple of years and helps with all of the administrative side of things, and was a huge help in coordinating our RVC this summer and leading events and roundtables for us. So a huge thank you to Katie. Our marketing chair is Rachel. So a lot of the great graphics that you have seen and newsletters and things like that over the last couple of years, including this lovely PowerPoint template, is courtesy of Rachel. She set up our region with a lot of core resources. And we are so thankful for all of the things that she started for the region a couple of years ago. Our events chair is Phoenix, and we started off strong a couple of years ago, being able to host events and planning for the H3 conference last spring. And unfortunately, for the past year and a half, we have been really limited on events. RVC was the only one that we could host this summer. But I want to thank Phoenix for all of her help with the RVCs that we were able to plan, especially the 2019 Indianapolis RVC. That was really fun. And she did a great job helping coordinate a lot of the alumni events for that weekend. Moving on to our membership and extension group, we have Teresa and Petey leading up M&E for our region. Teresa has also been serving on the national membership committee with National Program Chair Brandon Fairchild. So she has helped coordinate a lot of the resources that have come out nationally. And Petey has been a new member on our region staff. He was a graduate from the Right State Petitioning Group, so he has firsthand knowledge as a student going through an extension effort. So we're excited to have that new member on our staff to provide that perspective and be able to help lead our extension efforts going forward now that we can start working on campuses in person again. Moving on to our advisor development and our alumni relations group, we have BJ and Tom. BJ has also been a new member this year and has done a great job introducing herself to the advisors network in our region and facilitating advisor training virtually. We are hopeful to be able to do that in person next year, but she will continue to host virtual roundtables and networking sessions for our advisors to continue to lean on each other and utilize that support network. And then Tom has done a great job this fall leading our region alumni council to elect our alumni voting delegate, which was Matt Bailey. And we're hoping to have more alumni relations initiatives next year in person and in coordination with our annual Region Volunteer Conference. And then lastly, we have our finance and awards team. Deirdre has done a phenomenal job creating the region budget that we proposed last December to our national delegates, and then also just monitoring and utilizing our QuickBooks program. She completely integrated our region onto QuickBooks and moved all of our budgets over there so that we could have a more day-to-day monitoring system available for our budgets for when we hopefully do get to host events and have more regular expenses happening on the region level. And then Caitlin has facilitated our awards program for the past month with our voting delegates, and she's done a great job organizing all of the ballots and forms. So thank you to all of these volunteers for your help. Over the next couple of weeks, for the next term, we will be recruiting staff members again. So if you are a soon-to-be grad or graduating in May and interested in serving on a section or region staff level, or you know alumni in the area that might be interested, please have them reach out to me and set up a conversation so that we can go over these positions and help fill volunteer roles for the next couple of years. Okay, moving on to events and conferences coming up. For 2022, this is our conference schedule. Everything is still kind of TBD just to make sure we are monitoring what's going on with the variant and what the CDC is recommending for events and things like that. As of now, we're planning on having the Sectionals conference that was originally planned for 2020. We will host it still in Section H3 in the Toledo, Ohio area this spring semester. I would assume either in late March or early April. Those are typically the dates that we have for the spring conference. So within the next couple of weeks, we should hopefully be able to set up a hotel location and a tentative weekend dates and get registration out by around February would be the goal. So over the next month, just stay tuned for any announcements as we continue monitoring everything and seeing what the call is going to be on in-person events for the spring semester. But as of now, it should be in the Toledo, Ohio area. It will be hosted by Section H3. And obviously it's been 2 years since the first committee was ready and excited to host the conference in the area. We'll have to recruit some new students for the committee. So you'll hear from your local section chair about that. Put together the committee again and kind of facilitate the organization and planning for that conference. Followed by sectionals, we will have our annual RVC. Last year, the alumni group that was at RVC picked a city for the next year, and they selected Dayton, which is an H4. So we've gone from Indianapolis to Columbus, then now to Dayton in 2022. That will be the next city. And we're super excited to get plans underway for that. That will be open again to seniors, recent alumni, and then also just alumni in general as well. We also try to encourage advisors that even aren't APO alumni per se, but faculty advisors or people that might be weren't actives when they were in school. If we could get them to attend RVCs, I think going forward, that would be a huge help to introducing them to the fraternity and just the network of volunteers and training that's available. So that's a huge goal, along with our typical goal of trying to get as many recent grads and alumni to attend in general that aren't already in elected or appointed positions. So that will be next summer, probably July. And then our third conference for next year would be our regionals conference, which happens every other year when there's not a nationals. So since nationals was 2021 and is going forward on odd numbered years, our regionals conference will be going forward then the fall of even numbered years. So we should be having our regionals conference next fall. The discussion on whether they're pairing up regions again is still up for discussion with the National Operations Council. So I will keep everybody posted. It sounds like we're going to be able to host our own regionals conference, so we won't have to combine with another region just because we have so many sections and such a large territory already of active chapters. So I will keep everybody posted if we are hosting our own regionals conference and we don't have to team up with another region like we did in Indianapolis in 2019, where we combined with Region I. We will probably have it in one of the major cities in Ohio, or on the border of Ohio and Northern Kentucky. So I will keep you all posted. We'll probably be looking at Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, and keep everybody posted once we are able to make that decision and plan a date and a hotel and start getting volunteers up and running for our SAC to plan that regionals conference. Does anybody have any questions about these 3 tentative items for next year? Okay, perfect. Stay tuned. As soon as we have dates, especially for sectionals, since that's coming up in the next few months, I will send that out to all of the chapter presidents and advisors so that we can get those on chapter calendars and get those planned as soon as possible. We will still offer a hybrid option, just like we did this year for RVC. For sectionals, RVC, or regionals next fall, we will also have a hybrid option where you can Zoom in to workshops and live meetings and presentations. If your chapter A is unable to travel, or B decides that's how you would rather participate to be safe, or to follow any university policies. So just know that that's also an option, even if we do get permission to host in-person conferences. Okay. All right, some more exciting news. So the next national convention, fingers crossed, will be in person and is scheduled for December of 2023. The conventions rotate around the whole country into different districts. So it goes from the north to the east to the south to the west, and then all the way back around. So the last time it was in the North District, we were in Chicago in 2014. Then we went to the East and had it in Pittsburgh. Then in 2018, we went to Austin. And then we were supposed to be in the West for this one for Phoenix. So the next one is North, and there are several viable cities in that North District for APO. And they had a reference committee reviewing all of those potential cities this fall, and they are recommending to the national floor, which is all of you delegates. You will hear this tomorrow, but they're going to present Indianapolis, which is super exciting because we all love Indy, but it's also really exciting because that's in our region. So I wanted to talk to all of you about this before, just so delegates felt comfortable talking if there are any opportunities tomorrow during discussion to talk about it. There were lots of different cities available that they looked at across Michigan, Ohio. I'm trying to think of where the other ones are, Minnesota, I think. Missouri. So out of all of those cities, the reference committee that was made up of students is recommending Indy, which is really awesome for our region and just a really centralized city, I think, for the whole entire country. It's an easy place to get to compared to Phoenix or Austin. Like it's typically pretty hard to travel out west or down south that far. So I wanted to talk about what that means for our region. So typically they try to find student planning committee members from the host region. That's not always the case. Sometimes they recruit from all over the country just to be able to find people that are getting involved. Typically our region has really, really involved students at the national level, so I don't think that will be a problem at all. If you have young students in the chapter now, which all of you hopefully have recruited some in the last couple of semesters, they will probably be seniors in the chapter by the time that 2023 convention rolls around. Convention planning is supposed to happen 6 to 9 months before the actual convention takes place. So throughout the spring 2023 semester and the fall 2023 semester, there will be opportunities to get involved in the planning of that convention. They try to find a convention advisor from the host region as well. So for any alumni checking this out, that's something to think about in the upcoming 2 years. And that convention advisor will help lead that team of students to plan a really awesome and unique convention. And we all know Region H loves conferences, and when they were in person, we used to do a really, really great job at it. So I am super excited for this. I think it's a great way to help reinvigorate student involvement on the national level and demonstrate how well we can do conferences in this area and put on really great programming for students and alumni. So it was something exciting that I wanted to talk to all of you about, make sure the delegates knew. And this is definitely something, if you remember one piece of today, to take back to your chapters. If they ask you, hey, what's going on with APO, or what did you learn from being a delegate? This is a super exciting piece to take back to your chapters, especially if you are one of our chapters in H1 or H2, because this is coming to your area. Does anybody have any questions about what that means, what National Convention entails, or anything about Indianapolis in general? Okay, well, please take that info back to your chapters and keep me posted if you have any questions. And like I said, be prepared for this topic to be brought up tomorrow during the legislative session. And the reference committee will give their presentation and probably explain why they picked Indianapolis. The floor will be open for discussion, and then I believe they have to take a vote. So I believe you all still get a chance to vote on it. Okay. All right. May I have the H1 delegates go through attendance again really quickly? We are going to go through a quick Section H1 chair special election. Our section chair this spring semester, Rick Casado Jr., has been serving in this role for the past year and had to move out of the section for a new job. And so he has taken a new role in Missouri, and we have been looking for a new Section 1 H1 chair. And we had one candidate that was interested that I sent you all her pic and her bio so that you could learn a little bit more about her from the get-go, and that is Brother Olivia Smith from the Alpha Gamma chapter. Can I have the H1 delegates confirm attendance really quick? They are the only delegates that need to take a vote during this process. It will be a very quick few-minute election, but for the delegates from H2 through H6, you don't have to worry about this piece of business. Okay, from our Alpha Gamma chapter, can you say here or I if you are live on the call?
Here.
Here.
Perfect. And then from Alpha Tau at Butler?
Here. Here.
Perfect, we have 2. And then Delta Xi at Ball State?
I'm sorry.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure we've got an odd number, so we are okay. And then I'm calling Tau Omicron, but we didn't have any registered. Just in case anybody from Tau Omicron is on, you can also say here. Okay, I am going to open the floor for nominations. We had one candidate submit that biography early, but you are able to nominate anybody as well for the position for Section H1 chair. So this floor is now open for H1 delegates and H1 delegates only. The floor is open for nominations if a delegate would like to nominate a brother for this position. So again, delegates from Purdue, from Butler, and from Ball State, you have one interested candidate, but the floor is open for anybody to make a nomination. In order to move forward, I need one of the voting delegates to nominate a candidate. We have one so far that was interested that submitted to all of you, which is Olivia Smith from Purdue. So the floor is now opened if one of those delegates will make a nomination.
Do we have to nominate Olivia? I'm sorry, I thought she was already nominated. That's why I was confused. I
Yes.
nominate Olivia Smith from Alpha Gamma for this position.
Thank you. Just a little bit of official business there. Thank you. Do I hear a second from another delegate?
Seconded.
Thank you very much. Olivia, do you accept this nomination?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. Last call for any other nominations. Okay, the floor is now closed for nominations. The candidate nominated, Brother Olivia Smith, you have the floor for a couple of minutes if you would like to say anything, introduce yourself, talk about some goals you have for the role or anything like that. Maybe share your experiences in your chapter. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'll keep this kind of short. I know everyone's probably got a long day today and tomorrow, but so I'm Olivia. I'm from the Alpha Gamma chapter at Purdue. I am a recent graduate, just, 2 weeks ago. I held a leadership position every single semester being my pledge class president or having a co-chair, or I served on e-board as president and pledge trainer. And I have just like fully enjoyed every moment that I've had with all of my brothers. I'm really excited to get to know all of the other chapters in our region, or in our, well, region and section. And I think kind of what I want to, one of my main goals for the upcoming semester is to try and get you guys to communicate with each other, everyone in our section, and even outreaching a little bit further than that. Because there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of value in getting to know brothers from outside your own little world. And so, yeah, I think that's all I got.
Thank you, Brother Olivia. May I have a motion to vote on the Section H1 chair position from one of the H1 delegates?
I'd like to move to a vote.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you, Sydney. Okay, perfect. In order to vote, since there is just 6 of you, if you will send me a direct message through the chat, you may either vote, you can say yes or Olivia's name, and you also have the opportunity to abstain if you would like to abstain from voting. If all of you will send that in now, I will make sure we have at least 5 of the 6, and that will reach quorum. Thank you, brothers. That is 5 out of the 6 votes. We have reached quorum, and Olivia has been elected as Section H1 chair. Thank you very much, Brother Olivia Smith, for joining us, and thank you all of the delegates from Section H1 for your due diligence in electing a section chair for your area. Congratulations, Brother Olivia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll get you all trained and transitioned over with the last section chair and get you all ready and introduced to the section. So all of the chapters will be meeting with, and I'm sure talking with Olivia over the next several months. So thank you, brothers, and congratulations again, Olivia. Okay, moving on to the next piece of business that we have, and now this is for all of the delegates in our region. We are moving on to our budget proposal. Our budget was approved for 2 years at the December 2020 virtual convention that took place. So we have a budget already in place that's approved through December 2022. So this is just making an edit to the existing budget. So I did a long summary in an email to all of you. I copied and pasted it up here as well so that all of you can see this again. And I am going to read off all of the info, and then the floor will be open for discussion for any edits anybody would like to propose, and then we can move to a final vote at the end. So I'll read through everything first, and then we can kind of go back through it. So this new grant, I kind of nicknamed it the Prco Grant. It's the Pandemic Relief Chapter Operations Grant. This is for our region only. From our region budget, they do not currently have a national grant available like this. This idea actually stemmed from the MU chapter at IU. Their treasurer reached out to me this fall and was asking about anything for pandemic relief, or if they had a chapter operations grant available from the fraternity. And I was like, no, we don't have anything, but that's a really great idea. So that's where all of this kind of stemmed from. And I put together this proposal so that we could move some unutilized funds into something that we can use for the next couple of semesters. So we will be proposing to move unused funds of about $500 from APO, which is the voting delegate training mini conference that we typically do in person. We did that virtually, so none of those funds had to be used. $750 from convention scholarships to go to Phoenix. We didn't need to use those either. And then last but not least, we had $1,000 in the fund for convention delegate support, also for when we were in Phoenix. So all 3 of those budget line items were not used this fall. So that's about $2,200, $2,250 in total. And because convention was moved to virtual event, they are unused in our budget, and we can reallocate these funds if we want to for the next couple of semesters. An overview of this new grant is here, and this would be sent out to all of the chapter officers and advisors if we move forward with this grant proposal. So chapters may apply for this new PRCO grant for funds up to $300 to support their chapter operations affected by hardships due to the pandemic. This grant can cover operational or program expenses, including leadership, friendship, and service programs, membership, which includes anything from recruitment, retention, member education, ceremonies, things like that, marketing materials or initiatives, interchapter relations programs, and any other type of unique programs that a chapter wants to propose or seeks assistance with. So it doesn't have to be something that your chapter's already been doing and needs financial assistance with, but maybe it's a new idea or a new initiative or a new program that you want to start to help revitalize your chapter operations. Funds cannot cover any conference registration or hotel fees, and this stipulation is pretty on board with what the other grants that APO offers funds for. So they can be used for almost any type of chapter operation, just not attending conferences. Okay, so that's an overview of the grant in and of itself. In order to request funds for this grant that we are creating or have the potential to create, we will set up a form, and this form will be created for chapter officers to submit to apply for the PRCO grant through the region. The form will have different information fields for them to fill out about the operation or program expense that they are requesting funds for. They will also have to submit an itemized budget proposal with it. This is exactly the same thing that chapters have to do if they apply to any of the national grants, like the service program grant or the service innovation grant. If the event or program has already taken place this year, like this fall semester, you can also turn in a grant proposal for that to cover those funds and refurbish that amount to your budget. You'll just have to turn in copies of receipts. So that is how the request program will go, or the request process will look. And then as far as grant criteria, the chapters must be in good standing in order to receive a grant. The chapter can only receive the grant once per academic year. The funds are going to be available on a first come, first served basis. And we'll utilize those funds until they run out of that amount. The form submissions will be reviewed on an ongoing basis. We will have all of the forms reviewed by our Region Student Advisory Committee and our Region H Finance Chair, requiring a majority vote of those in attendance for approval. And our SAC is made up of students from each section. So we will be working hard over the next month to get our SAC completely stocked with new students, because a lot of them have graduated, and we'll have that body fully organized and ready to be able to review these on an ongoing basis for you all. Does anybody have any questions about the request process or the criteria? I will also go back just to the overview of the grant. I will take questions first, and then I'll open the floor just for discussion, and you can also propose any edits that you would like to do. If you propose an amendment or an edit, everybody will need to discuss that edit or amendment first. So we'll try to follow Robert's rules and go through that process. Okay, seeing no questions or anything in the chat yet, I will go ahead and open the floor. So delegates only, you may raise your hand or put anything in the chat if you want to be called on, and then I will ask you to unmute yourself. You can turn your camera on and share anything you would like with the body. Last call for any discussion. The floor is open.
Motion to vote on the grant proposal.
Okay, there's been a motion to vote as is. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, second. We will take a vote. I will ask, let's see. We can do a motion to voice vote, if that is okay. I'll ask the original speaker, Brother Liam.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Will all of the voting delegates that have a voting delegate credential, will you unmute yourself right now? I will double check the list of participants. Okay, all delegates, please unmute yourself if you are going to cast a vote. Double checking our list one more time. Perfect. Okay. All of those delegates in favor of the PRCO grant and the moving of the unused funds into this new grant proposal, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. Any of those opposed, say nay. And lastly, any of those wishing to abstain, say aye. Okay, thank you. That passed with more than a majority. So we have our new PRCO grant established. It will be funds for up to $300 per chapter that applies. And we will publish this to all of our chapters for the next few semesters or until the funds run out. So all of the delegates, if your chapter could benefit from something like this, please take this back to your chapters and especially your exec team to discuss and get those forms submitted as soon as they're published. We should be able to have that out within the next week or two, I'm assuming. Okay, thank you for your service, brothers. We can move on. Okay, the last piece of business I wanted to discuss with all of you is the future of our conferences. So we looked at what 2022 looks like together. So we have H3 that's scheduled to host the Sectionals conference. And really that's what we're focusing on. This discussion piece is the future of Sectionals, which happens every single spring. We need to discuss as a region what we're going to be doing for 2023 and forward. Right now, the region policy manual picked out city names across the region. So it kind of bounces back and forth from Indiana to Ohio, back and forth a bunch. And the next city that is slated is, I believe, West Lafayette. So that is an H1, and that is right next to our Purdue chapter at Alpha Gamma. So as of now, that is who is slotted to host 2023, or yes, 2023 Sectionals Conference. My question posed to all of you, and we can continue this offline in the chat for the next few weeks as well, so we don't have to motion to change anything at the moment. I wanted to review that list of cities with all of you and see if that's still the schedule that we want to keep. And especially hearing from Indiana students, if that's something that you all want to kind of sign up for helping facilitate, if we're going to bounce back and forth from state to state. We have only 9 chapters in the state of Indiana, and 2 of them are in that at-risk category that we talked about at the beginning. So we have about 7 viable chapters right now versus the 23 that we have over in Ohio. And I want to make sure that we have kind of buy-in and support from the Indiana chapters to host a conference every other year, and to make sure that that's something that you all feasibly feel confident and comfortable in doing with the membership that you have right now. So if we go to West Lafayette, which will heavily probably rely on Purdue brothers, after a couple of years, we'll probably be down in the H2 cities. So I'm going to pull the list of cities up right now, but I wanted to open up the discussion to any brothers while I do that to see if you had anything you wanted to share.
My only question would be, I guess, to Purdue and Indiana students, if they were comfortable hosting in 2023 with them also essentially hosting nationals. I mean, if that was something they were comfortable hosting both a sectionals and a nationals, or if that, should be adjusted for them so they still host, maybe it's just 2024 instead or something.
Speaking for Alpha Gamma as one of the delegates, we're happy to host in 2023. We've got, I think, the membership for it. I think we've got the people to do it. And since it's nationals, we hope it's hosted in Indianapolis, it would, I think, rely less on Alpha Gamma. We would still help out as much as they needed, but I think they would rely a lot more on the Indianapolis chapters. So I think I at least feel comfortable saying for our chapter that we'd be willing to do both, no problem.
Yeah, speaking from an Indiana University standpoint, I don't think Indianapolis is as much of a concern for us just because we are like a good hour outside the city. And while it is like in our backyard, it's not like it's like fully in Bloomington. So I don't think that's as much of a concern for us, at least.
Mhm. Now, one thing to keep in mind, because those are the two biggest chapters that just spoke, Mu and Alpha Gamma. The cities that are in Indianapolis, one of them is the one that is a chapter that's at risk. That's Tau Omicron at IUPUI. So we're speaking less than 4 actives at that chapter. And then I think the next 2 closest are Ball State and Butler, I'm guessing. Do we have any delegates from Butler or Ball State that would like to add anything? And I bring that up because when we have convention, if we have convention in Indianapolis, or if we have a sectionals in West Lafayette, even if they're in those 2 cities, the major pool of volunteers will probably come from the largest chapters. So Purdue, IU, and ISU will probably majorly fund the volunteer pool. It will probably not come from directly in Indianapolis, but I would love to hear from Butler or Ball State if they have any input on service power or what they think they could get volunteer wise for those type of events.
I can add, I'm from Butler, and I think our chapter or like whatever is kind of small. So I don't know how many people would be able to add, but maybe like having it nearby like would encourage people, and like the people we have are pretty active. So that would be good. Yeah.
I'm also from the Indiana University chapter. I know I'm not from one of the Indy chapters. But like Mandy said, even though we are an hour away, it's still a very short drive. And from my experience, a lot of, at least our chapter's members do live in Indianapolis, or at least in the suburbs. So it wouldn't exactly be a giant road trip for any of us to get out there if we weren't there already.
Okay, perfect. And I pulled up, I hope everybody can see this on their screen. Can you see perfect? This is what the policy manual currently states. This is what students back in 2018 came up with. So right now we're in this part of the rotation schedule where Toledo hosts it. And next for 2023, we would be moving to West Lafayette. And then in 2024, we'd be in Dayton. And 2025, we'd go back to Indy. 2026, Cleveland. 2027, we'd be in Bloomington, which is near IU. And then we'd go over to Columbus, Fort Wayne, Cincy, and then start again. So that's how we're kind of rotating right now. And I know it seems funny to talk about 5 or 6 years at a time, but in terms of academic years, it's something to consider because you're kind of signing up your pledge classes right now to be in service for these events 3 or 4 years down the line. So if everybody is comfortable, especially those chapters from Indy, if everybody feels comfortable every other year going there, that was something that I just wanted to bring up, especially with the convention coming there, and make sure we're all on board to sign up, supporting those conferences and being able to fulfill conference planning committees and also running the conference pieces of the conference weekend. Okay, last call. 2023, we're still going to be, or 2022, we'll be in Toledo as planned. 2023 spring, we will be in West Lafayette. So that's H1. 2024, we will be moving down to Dayton, which is H4. We will be back in H1 the year right after that, 2025. And then 2026, we'll move over to Cleveland, H5, and then so on and so forth. Okay, the floor is open. If everybody's good, this is great. We can leave as is. If anybody wants to propose a change, now is the time to do so and we can discuss. Okay, I will go back to our PowerPoint and we will move along. We can also bring this up at the sectionals conference as well and just talk about it every spring and make changes if we need to, especially if anything happens with the pandemic or anything like that, we can continue to address. I always have it on every fall agenda of discussion just to make sure chapters are still ready to commit and ready to be involved with what we have upcoming. Okay, we are going to move into our region awards for the year. I want to thank all of our voting delegates for reading through all of the nominations and casting their ballots. And I also want to thank everybody who took time to nominate a chapter or a brother for an award this year. I really hope that we get to have an in-person conference next semester, and we plan to give out certificates at that point for all of the awards that have been given out over the last couple of years so that individuals can take home their certificate. So just keep that in mind. I will also post something on social media that chapters can share from the region pages that will have all of the names and chapters on it that receive awards this semester. So we're going to start with our chapter awards, and I'm also going to pull up the name of our awards so we can talk a little bit about what the criteria was to earn these awards. Our first award that was created by our RSEC team a couple years ago is the Region H Chapter Leadership Award. This chapter has to meet different chapter requirements for their leadership program by participating in APO and university-sponsored leadership development opportunities. They have to have sent members to different section, regional, or national leadership opportunities or courses, as well as virtual or in-person conferences that have taken place. And overall, this chapter's leadership development program has gone above and beyond the typical chapter's requirements and serves as an example for LD development or leadership development for the rest of our region. And the delegates voted, and without further ado, our 2021 Chapter Leadership Award goes to the Alpha Gamma chapter at Purdue. So congratulations, brothers. Next, we have our Chapter Fellowship Program Award, and this chapter award requires their members to have participated in different fellowship events through APO or their university programs. They should have hosted fellowship events for both their active membership and new members or pledges over the last year as well. They also aim to uphold the values of fellowship and brotherhood in their program while demonstrating a diversity of fellowship activities for members to attend. Overall, their chapter's fellowship program has gone above and beyond the typical chapter requirements and serves as an example of brother bonding for the rest of our region. And this year's fellowship award for the chapter goes to Alpha Iota at The Ohio State University. So congratulations. Next, we have our Region Service Award. This chapter award goes to a chapter who has met their service hour requirements by participating in projects representing each of our 4 pillars of service, which is service to the fraternity, the campus, the community, and our nation. This chapter has hosted multiple service projects for actives and pledges over the past year. And overall, their chapter service program has gone above and beyond a typical chapter service requirement and serves as an example of a well-rounded service program for the rest of our region. And this year's Region Service Award goes to our Zeta Lambda chapter at the University of Toledo. Moving on, we have our Region Membership Award. Our Region Membership Award goes to a chapter that has shown growth and development in both recruitment and retention over the last year. Their actives have demonstrated consistency with membership participation, membership education, recruitment efforts, and attention to retention. Overall, this chapter's membership program has gone above and beyond a chapter's requirements for membership programming and serves as an example of a growing membership program for the rest of the region. And this year's Region Membership Award goes to our Alpha Iota chapter at The Ohio State University. And our last chapter award goes to, or is for the Interchapter Relations program. The Region Interchapter Relations Program Award goes to a chapter that has hosted and participated in events with at least one other chapter over the past year to increase interchapter relations in their section or our region. This chapter aims to organize interchapter events and invites brothers to their campus each semester. Overall, this chapter has gone above and beyond a typical chapter requirement and serves as an example for building connections with other chapters outside of their campus. And this year's Interchapter Relations Award goes to our Alpha Eta Rho chapter at OU Lancaster. So congratulations to all of these chapters. Only one chapter can be awarded each of these chapter awards each year. So this is a huge honor out of our 30 campuses that we do have. So take the time to celebrate if you are from one of these chapters and make sure you spread the word. And like I said, we will post on social media so that all of our chapters can share. Super proud of the 5 chapters that were named here, and congratulations again. We will move on to our individual awards now. Now these awards can be awarded to as many nominees that our voting delegates would vote for. And we had a lot of submissions this year, which was awesome to see. I love seeing brothers nominate each other to recognize them for their leadership or contributions to their chapters and beyond. So we will start and do the same thing and break down each of the different award categories. Our first being the Servant Leader Award. Now the criteria for this individual award states that a student has gone above and beyond the call of duty for their role in the chapter. They demonstrate all of the qualities of a true servant leader whose main focus is serving to help their chapter and our fraternity thrive. This student may or may not have served an elected role for their chapter, but they are a crucial member of their chapter's programming, brotherhood, operations, or morale. And without further ado, our Servant Leader Award recipients this year are the following brothers: Alexia Seymour from Alpha Gamma, Bobby from Alpha Iota, Mackenzie from Alpha Eta Rho, Jacob from Xi Upsilon, and John from Alpha Gamma. Congratulations to these 5 brothers. We are super proud of you and thank you for your contributions and your servant leadership to your chapters. Our next individual award is for the Brotherhood Spirit Award. This award is for a student that upholds the principle of fellowship by leading with a large focus on building friendships and increasing brother bonding in their chapter. They simply embody what being a brother and a friend means in APO, and they aim to make friendships with as many people as possible. And our Brotherhood Spirit Award this year goes to the following recipients. Congratulations to these brothers: Liza from Xi Upsilon, Chelsea from Alpha Iota, Riley from Alpha Eta Rho, and Liam from Zeta Lambda. Congratulations, brothers. We are super proud of you. Next, we have our APO Spark Award. This award is intended to highlight a student that has really gone above and beyond the typical requirements of a pledge or an active within their first few semesters in APO. They are a student that has really stood out since pledging and made noticeable contributions in the chapter through their programming, brotherhood, operations, morale, or participation. The student may also have contributed to giving other members their APO spark by helping them find their excitement for our fraternity. And I love this award because it's highlighting new members in our chapter, especially those who have been recruited in the last couple of years through the face of the pandemic. And without further ado, these are our APO Spark recipients this year. So congratulations to Kaylee from Xi Upsilon, Sydney from Alpha Gamma, Giovanni from Alpha Iota, Jack from Alpha Eta Rho, and Tommy from Delta Alpha. Congratulations, brothers. Our next individual award is for the Recruitment Award. This award is for a student who has worked diligently to either help plan or participate in the chapter's recruitment events over the last year. They have gone above and beyond the typical requirements for their chapter's recruitment program and truly helped make a difference in recruiting new members to their chapter. They made a large effort to get to know all of the pledges and welcome them into the chapter. The student could have even been responsible for recruiting a large number of the pledges in their chapter over the past few semesters. And our Recruitment Award recipients this year are the following brothers: Allie from our Xi Upsilon chapter, Matt from Alpha Iota, Adam from Alpha Eta Rho, Kaylin from Alpha Gamma Omicron, Christina from our Wright State group, and Taylor from our Wright State group. Congratulations to these brothers, and thank you for your help in recruiting members for your chapters. And our final individual award for the region is our Interchapter Relations Award. And this award is for a student that has been a key member in promoting interchapter relations, either in their home chapter or within their section or region. They've attended at least one other chapter or section events in the past year, as well as any APO conferences. The student is most likely to encourage their chapter to travel to other campuses, conferences, or invite brothers to their events throughout the year. And for our last award, the recipients for the Interchapter Relations Award goes to Brother Adam from Alpha Eta Rho, Christina from our Wright State group, Austin from Alpha Gamma, and Kachi from Alpha Iota. Congratulations to these brothers as well. Okay, and thank you again for everybody who nominated a brother to highlight them or our chapter this year, especially in the face of everything that has affected our chapters in the past couple of years. I'm super proud of all of you, and thank you to our delegates for taking your due diligence and your time to award the recipients with their recognition this year. We have one last very special award, and I will read a little bit from the nomination letter for this award, but this is also something that I really hope we get to do in person over the next year or the next semester, hopefully. This is our region's only alumni award currently. It's our Forget Me Not award, and we have a really special Forget Me Not pin that goes with it. And the recipient for this year's award goes to a brother. I'm going to read from his nomination letter now. This brother made an extremely significant impact on the regional and national level for our fraternity over the past several decades. This brother was initiated in the Alpha Gamma chapter at Purdue and has served in multiple advisory and mentorship roles in APO since becoming an alumni member. He has served as a chapter advisor for the Alpha Gamma Xi chapter at the University of Dayton for over 20 years. He has also been a largely recognized leader in the Boy Scouts community in the Southwest Ohio area for the past several decades as well. He has been awarded 2 chapter DSKs, a section DSK, and a region DSK award. He has been a vital part of our region, and his actions, life experiences, and involvement in APO and his community overwhelmingly showcase our fraternity principles of leadership, friendship, and service. He is truly a servant leader at heart, serving in a volunteer advisory role for APO, the Scouts, and beyond. And the nominator continues to add a lot of the experiences that he has had in the fraternity, and ends the letter with this paragraph that says, his main focus as an alumni member has been to advise and mentor his students and to promote friendship in chapters. This has never faltered, and I know the chapters that he works with continues their strong programs of leadership, friendship, and service, largely due to the consistency of this advisor. So without further ado, our recipient for this year's Forget Me Not Alumni Award is Brother Tommy Brennan from the Alpha Gamma chapter and our AGX chapter advisor. So we will do a special presentation for him, hopefully at the next in-person conference that we have, so that we can pin him with the Forget Me Not pin. Okay, thank you for all of your attention to our awards. We're going to move on with some final announcements about chapter resources and then wrap up today's meeting. If you haven't seen this yet, I bring this up at all of our virtual conferences just because of everything not being in person, and it's harder to showcase everything that we've been working on. Everything is conveniently located on our APO Region H website. If you haven't checked that out yet, especially if you're a new officer recently elected this semester, make sure that you go check it out. It's under our virtual resources tab. Everything is categorized by different programs. So LFS, membership, marketing, finance. There's a bunch of different resources out there already created. There's a ton of training videos, officer guides, so you never have to start from square one. If you don't get a great officer transition, or you're just looking for more training or information on how to do your role or how to do it more effectively, there's lots of resources out there for you and your chapters. There are chapter meeting templates, there's pledge meeting templates, there's the links to the online pledge education program if you want to utilize that. There's so much out there on the website, so please take a look if you haven't already. And if you are looking for more assistance or support, we have 6 local section chairs. We are all volunteers, and we have local section chairs so that they can help with the chapters on a more local and close-knit basis. So you can reach out to one of our 6 section chairs, your chapter advisors. You can also reach out to me or any of our region staff members for help or assistance with implementing any of your programs or new ideas, things like that. We're here to assist you. We all went through APO as an active during our university years, and so we're super excited to be here as volunteers to help you all in your experiences as well and guide you as a student and welcome and introduce you to the Alumni Network after you graduate as well. Here are a few important dates tonight to write down for next semester. Coming up very quickly is the Youth Service Grant from the fraternity. That is due on Officer Portal February 1st. It is for any type of service project or program idea you have to benefit the youth in your community. I believe it's up to $500, but I think they have different amounts as well. So if you haven't applied for that in the last year or two, take a look at that application process and submit a proposal, especially if you're a new service VP and want to do something special for your community and need funds to do so. April 15th is when dues and paperwork for the semester are due. All of that is on Officer Portal. Spring Youth Service Day next year is April 29th through May 1st. So your chapter should be planning something dedicated to a youth service program or organization during that week or that time period. May 1st is the deadline for the Service Innovation Grant. And that is a really open-ended grant for any type of innovative or new service project idea you might have for your chapter. And then the John Mack scholarship applications. We have had several winners or recipients from our region over the last few years, and it's something I'm super passionate about spreading the word for. So if you haven't heard about that yet, please spread the word within your chapter. It is a scholarship directly for your college costs or expenses. So it gets paid from the national office directly to your university, and they do several different amounts. I think it starts from 500 and goes all the way up to 5,000 or maybe 7,500. And it's basically a scholarship for being a servant leader in your communities, which all of you already are. And it's a great way to get some assistance with your university expenses. That is on the national website. It's also due May 1st. And then last but not least, in the summer, we have the big deadline for the Chapter of Excellence, Pledge Program of Excellence, and our CAPS forms are due. Does anybody have any questions about these dates? Okay, perfect. I would love to open the floor for any final questions. While we all have each other here, we all should be preparing for tomorrow's national legislative session. It starts in the morning. I highly recommend getting into the waiting room like 5 to 10 minutes early just to make sure everything's working. And you'll probably just be sitting in the waiting room for a while they get everything set up, and then they'll let everybody into the room and you'll see the shared screen with some final reminders about making sure that you have everything set up for your election buddy to vote and everything that you need for today's session. A final email came out directly from the national office today. It should say from Alpha Phi Omega. And that has the final list of reminders. It has the standing rules attached and everything like that. Anything the national office has sent out to delegates besides your individual links and voting credentials is on the APO Region H website under the APO tab. And I sent that in the emails to all of you, and I'll put it in our Discord chat tonight as well. So you can go easily click and read through all the nominees for national candidates again. You can see the link for the recording for the candidates forum. You can look at the legislative proposals, and you can look through the standing rules. I also made that Spark Notes like cheat sheet. It's like 2 pages, a quick document that has everything just bulleted. So if there's one thing that you're going to print out and kind of bring with you or just have on your phone pulled up, I would recommend that document, and it'll help you kind of stay organized throughout the day, just knowing what's being discussed. Okay, does anybody have any questions, especially our delegates in preparation for tomorrow?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
Do you know if it's going to be cameras on or cameras off?
So tomorrow's session, they will have it automatically turned off for everybody. You will only see the shared screen and whoever the speaker or whoever's running the national legislative session. So like you'll see the screen and President Coop or Vice President Martin, you'll see them up on the screen. And if you are a delegate and have a voice or vote, you are able to kind of use the raise hand feature, and you can be called on to speak, and then they'll bring up your camera. So they will ask you to turn it on if you are speaking on the floor. You don't have to, but especially when you're addressing like the national body, I would highly recommend everybody be prepared to have your camera on and be able to turn it on so that you can speak to the floor and everybody can see who's talking. But yes, throughout the whole entire day, you don't have to worry about having your camera on consistently. Any other questions?
No, you had mentioned, is it the straight 11:30 to 6 tomorrow, or is it getting broken up at all?
So it will get broken up. There will be different times. I'm assuming they're going to do some type of lunch break or maybe a dinner break. And sometimes they just give everybody a quick water break for 5-10 minutes. The only time we went through this was last year. And I think the entire thing took maybe 6 hours. And there's a couple breaks within there. So yeah, I would just, as soon as we know if they give us any times in the morning, I'll put them in the Discord chat to know like, hey, you can plan for a quick dinner break here. But usually they kind of see how things are going, and if there's a good break in conversation or we get through one piece of legislation and there's a good breaking point, they'll give everybody a stop at that point. Kind of take a breather. Great question. Anybody have anything else? Okay, I'm going to pull up the reminders from the SparkNote sheet just to go over those really quick, and then we will end. We will be starting tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Like I said, please make sure that you are logged in early and able to get everything logged in. And if you have any questions or need any help troubleshooting, you can get a hold of me early and let me know. I'll have my phone on me and ready to help if any chapters are having issues getting logged in or anything like that. The sooner you let me know, the better, especially if we have a few people that are having troubles getting logged in. We have 6 different national business pieces to go through. We have the 3 proposed bylaw amendments. The first one is just adding that extra line under the time and place saying that convention will be in odd numbered years unless canceled or rescheduled by unanimous vote of the board. So that extra sentence has just been added on because of everything that's happened this year. They're giving or they're specifying what the process will be if we ever have to cancel or reschedule it in the future. The second bylaw proposal is for board meetings. It adds a phrase that allows special meetings to be called by the national president in addition to the current process. And then third is for a change to the national board bylaw, and it's adding a phrase to include additional members, and that's adding a region chair representative and a program chair representative to the board. They will be non-voting members. They're solely there to add a voice and also to help facilitate communication back to those 2 groups. After the 2018 election, this is the bylaw proposal that I told everybody at APO or during voting delegate trading that this is going to have the biggest piece of discussion, I'm assuming or estimating, compared to the other 2 that I previously mentioned, because those are a little bit more simple and operational based. This is kind of changing something, and they are proposing to have these 2 people added to the board to facilitate better communication because of what's happened over the last few years. They created this whole new board of directors at the 2018 National Convention. So they used to have region chairs, program chairs, that used to be the board of directors, but now they created a separate board of directors who are all being elected tomorrow. And the program chairs and region chairs are just on an operations council. So the board is supposed to be doing like the planning of the future for the fraternity, the financial piece of things, and more of the nonprofit business side of APO, and region chairs like myself and program chairs more focus on helping chapters and localized resources and things like that, if that makes sense. So when they made that giant split in 2018 over the last few years, anybody who's done anything on a national level, and I know a few of you students have done different national volunteer committees and things like that, you very quickly realize that there's been kind of a split in communication. So that is the reason behind this proposal, and it's trying to help facilitate more collaboration and communication. Okay, those are the 3 bylaw proposals. The next 3 are just resolutions or directives. They're kind of just asking for something or proposing something. The first one is to add an illustration for all of the ceremonies. The second one is to edit the online ceremony resources to match the scripts better to what is happening in person. And then the third one is for National Service Week theme, and that's for financial literacy. During that one, out of those 3 proposed resolutions, I feel like the most discussion will probably be around National Service Week, or everybody will just vote it in as is. But if anybody wants to propose a different theme for National Service Week, they can do that during that time. So there might be a little bit more discussion during that piece. Just a couple key reminders about the legislation. Make sure that you are paying attention through all of the different discussions, even though it's going on throughout the day, because what you're voting on might not be what was submitted originally. So any one of you, any one of the delegates across the country can propose an amendment or a revision to what the original proposal states. So when you do take a final vote, you might be voting on an amendment or a revised piece of legislation. It might not be what you thought it was from the very beginning. So that's why you have to pay attention to the live changes. Also review the national slate tonight. Please watch the recording of the candidate forum to get to know everybody if you didn't already. There was a few people, I haven't seen bios from them yet, but there's a few new people that are running from the floor. So they're not on the predetermined slate. And you can still vote on those candidates as well. So you can vote for whoever you want to, even if they're not on the slate. For the board, for the VP, or for the president. Okay, we went through all of our region business, and then some last minute reminders for our voting delegates. If you haven't already, there's that YouTube link for a quick delegate training in the national office. I'm also reiterating everything here too. So if you haven't seen that, there's nothing that you're missing that's not on the SparkNotes sheet. All of the sessions are going to be over Zoom. All of the participants' cameras will be off and your mics will be muted unless you sign up to speak. You won't be able to unmute yourself until the person running the meeting has selected you. The chat feature in Zoom should only be used to officially say something in the legislative session. So you don't want to chat your friend or your fellow delegates or say anything in the chat to go to everybody in the whole country. I don't even know if you have the capability of doing that. I think the chat can only go directly to who's running it. It won't be shown to everybody. So the chat function in that Zoom call is only for directing something to the person running the meeting. And we can use our Region H Discord channel for chats amongst delegates throughout the day. So if you're like, hey, I want to propose an amendment, what does everybody think? Or I forget how to do this, how do I propose an edit? Or I'm not sure about this candidate, what do you all think? Or hey, this candidate just mentioned something, I'm not sure what it means, what do you all think about it? All of those types of conversations can happen amongst you all in your voting delegate chat. If anybody has not joined that already, I think we're still missing a few delegates. The link is in the last email I sent. You can also shoot me a message or an email and I will help you get loaded onto the Discord channel, and I'll put everybody into, or make sure everybody that joins is in the private voting delegates chat as well. That's what we're going to be using all day tomorrow. And last but not least, if you do sign up to officially talk in the national Zoom session tomorrow, make sure that you use the different colors. So you have green, red, and white. Green means that you want to speak in favor of something on the floor or make a motion to speak in favor of something. Red means that you want to sign up to speak against something or to also make a motion regarding something that you're speaking against. And then white is a motion for general conduct or to ask a question. So for example, if I'm wanting to sign up to speak as a region chair, as a delegate on the floor, I would type in Brittany Ramsey, Region H chair, green, because I want to speak in favor of something. And that way, when the speaker goes to call on you, they will say, Brittany, the Region H chair delegate, you have the floor. and then my camera will show up, and then they will unmute me and I will be able to speak. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anyone have any questions about that process for Zoom? Okay. Well, next slide is my contact info. If you don't have it already, I will pull it up here, as well as Katie's, our Region Information Officer. Please feel free to reach out. Check out any announcements or anything like that for nationals, either with the free APO app or our Discord channel. I'll put everything through there tomorrow if anything pops up or we have breaks, and I'll give everybody a warning when we have to get back on. Things like that. And then check out social media for the list of awards so that you can all share it on your chapter and individual pages as well. Thank you all for spending time with me today and going through the business that we needed to. Stay tuned for anything else that comes out over the next couple of days. And if you don't have any other questions, I will turn off the recording, and I wish you all the best tomorrow. Please shoot me a message if you need anything. Thank you, brothers.